It is the first week of June and our garden is looking beautiful. We've changed up so many things this year from last year. So if you started following the journey last year, then you're going to be surprised by some of the great new things that we've done to our garden. And first off, we've added these two planters on the outside. We have some nice butterfly bushes in the middle, and then around them we did some nice little wildflowers. Our goal this year is to add more flowers, more variety, and more intermixing of different types of plants. So you're definitely going to see that as we take a tour into the garden this June. So come on, let's go. Behind me here are our nice little stock tank raised garden beds. These originally did sit more in the middle of our garden, but we did move around some of our beds and we created a little mini orchard in the back of some different types of fruit tree varieties, which we'll get to a little bit later. Now, what I love about these stock tank raised beds, one, they're really nice and high. They're about 2.5, 3 feet high. We did get them from Home Depot and I believe they do still sell them. So I definitely suggest looking into them. We just drilled some holes into the bottom and we've had a lot of great success. They do really well with the testing of time, and they're really nice because they create barriers to some of your plants. So what we did this year is we actually planted some berry bushes in them, and what I really love is we added some name tags for them. Because we have different types of varieties here, we want to make sure that when they do come back, because they are all perennials, these berry bushes, that we remember what variety each one is. So we did add labels to all of them, and this has been a game changer. We also added it to our fruit tree orchards, and it's just really nice, fun, and easy to see everything. We added our berry bushes into these primarily because we know that they're going to get big and try to double, so we want to just manage their sizes in here, and I think it's going to be nice up against when you walk in. You can grab berries from the outside, the inside, and we can make sure that we're watering them and managing them. So this side has some raspberries over here. We got some more over here. I have a nice kiwi in that plant right here. I have a fig in one of these planters over here. We might transplant them when they get a little bigger. And then I have some herbs in these plants back here. Something that we did try is doing white raspberries. We saw someone else on YouTube actually say that they loved them, so we did add that to our garden as well, and really excited for them to come out. My husband actually had one the other day and said it was really delicious, so one is getting really close, the second one to ripening, and I'm really excited to try it. On the flip side over here, we have some more stock tank raised beds. We did put some coverage over here on our blueberry bushes. We have a few different varieties over here. They have so many blueberries, and in the past, the birds have just annihilated our blueberries. So this year we thought ahead. We covered them with some netting. We're still watering them. When they do ripen, we can easily pick them before the birds get to them. Because all the other berry bushes do not have as much fruit bearing on them, we aren't too worried about that. Something else I did, you can see right over there. In this section, I actually added some loofah. I'm really excited to grow loofah. This is my first time growing it this year, and I want it to kind of climb up. It is going to be a nice viney plant, so I'm really excited to see that take place. And then behind me over here is our potting station. We did move it from last year, it was on the other side. We moved it over here primarily just to let our berry bushes take more advantage of the sun. And then we have our dog house over here, which our dogs do not use, and just some other miscellaneous things. And we also got this little picnic table, which is really nice. We got this from Costco. Really great purchase. It folds up, easy to move around, and provides some nice seating when you're looking to eat a nice meal in the garden. One of the biggest differences that we did this year in our garden was we actually moved these boxes. So originally, there's 3 layers of boxes here that are 4 foot by 8 foot long. Originally, this is where our stock tank raised beds were, and we did move them. These beds were actually 2 foot high instead of 1 foot. They were in the very back of the garden, which we now have a little mini orchard in, and we have some grapevines back there. We'll get to that in just a bit, but I'm loving these. In the first row, I planted some nice wildflowers and they are just growing so beautifully. I honestly don't even know how some of the sunflowers actually got in these, but I'm really excited to let them pop. We're having a party next weekend and I'm really hoping that we get some blooms coming in for that. Otherwise, these are nice perennial plants, so these will be flower boxes moving forward. And again, hopefully bringing in some pollinators into our garden. It's really important to have pollinators so that all of your veggies and fruits will get the pollination that they need. So sometimes you have to lure in those pollinators, and we're trying to do that here with our nice little flower pots and some of the pots in the front, the big garden beds in the front as well. Trying to lure in some of those creatures there. Now behind this, we have our cauliflower and our broccoli beds, and we've intertwined some different types of cabbage. We have different types of herbs in there. And what I really wanted to do is, in the past, we really didn't have success with broccoli and cauliflower starting from seed. Everything in this garden has started from seed. We have not purchased any plants from the nursery yet, and hopefully we do not have to. Last year we got some really beautiful cauliflower. We did actually buy the plants from Home Depot and bring them in, and this year I'm really trying not to. So I planted a lot of it, and then I intertwined different herbs in order to deter any bugs, because that was our biggest problem in the past, was bugs getting to our cauliflower and broccoli before they could actually start to flower and fruit. So we're really hoping that it works this year. We got some sage in there. I got some cilantro in there, some dill, really mixing in a lot of goodies. And then on our two side beds here, I did a nice intertwining. So in the past, we actually had our pickles up against the walls in the back, but we can't really do that because we removed our beds in the back. So I have actually intertwined the pickles. I have cucumbers on this side, pickles on this side, and then inside one I have some nice beautiful zucchini on it. We're gonna have so much zucchini this year, so I am a little afraid on how much zucchini, but you know what? Teach a girl to garden, and everyone in the town has zucchini. We have so many great recipes for zucchini, from zucchini fritters, zucchini bread. I'm gonna do some zucchini lasagna. We have a toddler who loves to eat different types of veggies and fruits, so I know it's not going to go to waste, but I'm definitely going to be cooking a lot and preserving a lot of zucchini this year, and I'm really excited about that. Something else that I've done with these longer beds, these are our 16-foot by 4-foot beds. I definitely do think this is quite a large bed, so when you're thinking of the ideal garden bed size, I like the 4x8 the most, and around 2 feet high. These ones are pretty short, so they're not super raised, but you can still have your own amended soil in them, which is really nice. On the edge here, I planted some nice carrots. This way, they're just on the edges, and carrots I like to leave in for a pretty long time, so they're not really taking away from the surface area of the bed. I planted them along some of the edges of it here, so it's not really taking away, but you'll also have some nice carrots. When we do plant our carrots, we make sure to overseed them and then come back in as they start growing and pluck out any of them so that they do have enough space. If the carrot does not have enough space, then it's gonna get all weird, it's not gonna grow to its full potential, and it's honestly gonna be a pretty upsetting carrot, so I definitely suggest giving them enough space. I also have these poles here on this side. This is for when my pickles and cucumbers start to grow. I'll add some wiring here or some fencing here so that they can climb up it. Right now, they're still a little too small, so I don't need that just yet. But honestly, we're getting pretty close. So I will add that in once we get that in, but I just wanted to make sure that I started to have it outlined and I had all the poles that I needed. I also have some of my zucchini coming in. Some of them are starting to flower. You always gotta make sure to weed as you go. Weeds are gonna do whatever they can to take away the sun and the nutrients from your soil, so make sure you're always looking and weeding your garden. We also make sure to mulch our garden with straw in between our beds. I've talked about this a lot. Straw is one of my favorite ways to do this, so I definitely suggest watching one of our other videos about that, which I'll link down below. But you can also use lots of different mediums, from cardboard, which is going to be a free and easy way as long as you can collect cardboard from your neighbors or from old packages, or you could also do mulch. And there's things like Chip Drop, which offer free chip dropping from different landscapers. We've done that, although it can't be super reliable. Sometimes you don't get when you want it or as often or as much as you want, so you got to take that into account as well. One great deterrent for bugs in your garden is onions. I planted over 200 onion bulbs in this garden. We absolutely love onions in our house. We eat them all the time. So I planted some white and some red onions here. I put them at the edges of the beds. So I'm hoping that this will help deter some of the bugs from getting into our plants and scare them off. So this is our broccoli bed. You can see here there are some leaves that do have some bite marks in them. I'm not super excited about. And honestly, I filled this bed. So when I am kind of picking out some really tight plants, I will just take the ones with any of the big bitings and feed it to our chickens, which are right behind me. They free range back there. We also have a compost that they can go in and kind of do what they want with it. So really great place, have your garden right next to your chickens so that they can take all of the garden scraps. I also planted some really big pumpkins here. So really excited to see what happens with these. We had some success with pumpkins in the past, but I planted a smaller variety. So these ones are gonna be nice and big. I planted them a little early, so they might come before Halloween. I might have to plant some more as we get closer, but I was just kind of having fun and planting things, and they are really taking over. So I might also need to remove some of them. We'll see what happens and see what I really want to do there though. Over here, this is where our watering station is. So I have my hose. All of this runs off of water that we collect from our rooftop on our barn, as well as our chicken coop setup. And we have large totes that are 550 gallons each. We have 5 of them. So that is a lot of gallons of water, as long as it's raining, which it's been doing. So that's really great. We've also kind of repurposed this area a little. So in here we have our peppers and some eggplant. We also have some herbs, our onions. Again, we have those in all of our beds. But what I did differently here is I started doing some successional planting with seeds. So I've gone ahead, filled these guys up. I've been putting in my own seeds in here and then having it right by our watering station, so I can go ahead, water them really easy. Instead of putting them all around our garden, we also started all of our seeds here. So we don't have a greenhouse, but we are going to be building a little greenhouse section over here for next year, so we can actually start this process a little earlier and just have everything in one space. You don't have to walk around wasting water, watering all the beds. Instead, you just have everything here, and then we can transplant it into the locations that we want. It's been really successful this year in filling in different voids within the garden and adding to the garden. So definitely love this strategy. And if you have space, I definitely love the idea of just setting up a space for some of that here. Over here is our propagation station. So we have different types of berries that we've propagated. We have a mulberry tree that we have some propagation cuttings from, our blueberry bushes. We have different strawberry runners that came out that we put in here because we are going to be working on our strawberry bed this year, and we want to fill it in and we want to make sure we can bring the strawberries back. What else do we have over here? I also have my nice potatoes right here, which I've been hilling. The process of hilling, I did actually do a nice big potato video, so I will link it down below as well. We have these nice potato baskets here that fold up. So as you start to see any of the green leafiness, you go ahead and fill it with hay or dirt, and it will slowly hill up. And this just makes sure that you have more potatoes that will come out of your harvest. So this is my first time doing hilling, and I can definitely tell there's a lot more growth than I have had in the past. So I'm really excited to see what the harvest looks like. We also added this shade cloth to this section. That's because we added some fruit trees that we had inside that we had purchased over the winter. We have some fig trees, a clementine tree, a lemon, and a lime tree, which are in the back now. And we are going to be building a little structure in the back to keep it warmer through the winter because we are in 7B, so it can get quite chilly here. But what I've done is we put in this nice shade cloth, because when you do bring any indoor plants outside and there is really intense sun, it can be a really hard transition for your plants. So anything that you can do to ease that transition is going to be key. And one of that is providing a nice shady area for your plants. So we have this nice shade cloth. This way it's nice and shady on this area. They're watered, they have a nice safe space. And then once they've kind of gotten used to everything, you can transition them into the area that they're going to be planted in for their forever home. This bed looks a little more barren. This was our first half, was our garlic bed. So we planted garlic in the fall. Some of them are successful, some of them not so much. It does take quite a while. So once you start to see that the leaves are starting to die in the first 3 or 4 up, then you're gonna actually start to harvest them. We did use just generic grocery store garlic. Wanted to see if you really couldn't use it or not and what the turnout would look like. So we will be showcasing that in a later bit. I have some cucumbers around here that I will put over onto the fencing. Onion, again, in all of my corners. And then I've done some cabbage along this. Our cabbage had really, really bad infestation of bugs in the past, so it really hurt our growth of our cabbage. So I'm thinking if I put it along with the garlic and onions, I put in some sage in here, that it will really help deter those buggies from coming. And then we have some of our nice cherry tomatoes here at the end. This is one of my favorite beds for a while. This has been our snap pea bed. I love it because when you're in the garden, you can just come in and take a little snack. They're not super ready yet, but I really love them. And we also did a different variety over there, which actually start as purple and then turn green. Really, really interesting. I'll put the variety name right here. But really fun to grow. They do really well when you refrigerate them, so they can last a good time in the fridge. And a really fun snack to eat when you're in the garden. We also did some string beans on the edge. And this year I did do some spinach and radishes on the inside. I've never actually grown a radish before. I've never actually eaten a radish before. So I just wanted to see what it was like. We got some seeds and we'll be testing that out. So really excited to see what happens. And then behind me on this end, we actually have our asparagus. Asparagus does come back for around 20 years. I love asparagus. I think it's great in the kitchen. And every year the stalks get bigger and bigger. We've had so much asparagus from these garden beds and I just absolutely love them. Now the only thing is you're kind of saving 2 garden beds for asparagus, but if you like asparagus, it's good. And then they look kind of fun because they get really nice and bushy. Now we're coming to the halfway point of the garden. Over here is our lettuce and leafy greens. We have a nice big amount of kale. I'm actually collecting a lot of it today in order to make some kale chips. I also want to put some in the freezer for smoothies later in the year because it's just growing so fast. And if you actually pick from the edges of your kale, then it will keep on growing. It's a really great item for the garden. As I said, we've grown all of this from seed, and I think kale is very easy to grow from seed, and you can be very successful. It's not a hard plant to grow at all. So honestly, any of these, I think you can grow really well in your own garden. Something really interesting in our beds, we do a lot of, at the end of the year, we'll cut off all the stalks and then just kind of compost in our beds. Because of this, we have some guest appearances happening. We have some tomatoes coming in over here. We also have some sunflowers growing over here. I have no clue what type of sunflower it's going to be, what it's going to look like at all. And I'm excited to see. And I think it will add a nice pop of color when they do start growing. Same thing over here. We have some random sunflowers. This was a sunflower bed last year. It was our leafy green bed, so we do switch a lot of our beds so that, you know, you aren't growing the same thing in them all the time. You're always changing it up. And so this, at the end of the year, once our leafy greens were done in the middle of the summer, we started putting some of our sunflowers in, and I guess some of their seeds fell and decided to grow again. There's also my nice zucchini bed, so lots and lots of zucchini. Honestly, I think I've been a little too crazy on the zucchini, but we'll see. And again, we have our string bean bed over there. We love to intertwine little trees. So this is our patio peach. It honestly has so many peaches on it. I've been taking off some so that it can really focus on growing out the peaches that it does have and focus its energy on that instead of just like making a bunch of them. And I definitely suggest if you see a branch that has a bunch of fruit on it, you can go ahead and pick some of that out. These are 2 strawberry beds. Last year we just had this one and we love strawberries so much we knew we had to double it. On top of this, we just did some PVC, looped it around, and then put some netting, primarily to keep the birds out because they will go crazy once they see the redness of your strawberries here. Now, I've tried actually painting rocks red or to look like a strawberry and it really didn't work for me. So best of luck if you do that on yours. Definitely make sure that you put it out before any of the strawberries actually come. It doesn't work as well once they've already started to flower or started to fruit. We also tried pine berries this year. None of them have grown yet, but I'm excited to see what happens. Honestly, nothing beats a nice garden fresh strawberry. And then I'm just gonna throw the bits and ends to my chickens over here. Or I'm gonna have strawberries growing in their field. These 2 beds I made as my big tomato beds. So I have nice large tomatoes here for sandwiches, for tomato sauces. I have some Roma over here. Last year we didn't grow that many large tomatoes, and when we went to make our sauce it was just so tedious to do some of the cherry tomatoes, so we decided, what are we doing? We really want to make sauces. Let's focus our garden on that. So that is exactly what we did. And then I also planted some cantaloupe and some seedless watermelons. So they take a lot longer to come and they're way more viney. So I put them on the edges so they can vine off and start to grow like that. And then hopefully we can get some of our tomatoes in there. You can also see some of these big bushy things over here. That is leftover potatoes. Not sure how they got there. Must have been from last year, and I'm just letting them go, letting them live their life. This section right here is the newest section of our garden and still a work in progress. I am basically just waiting until I can get enough cardboard to fill the bottom to protect from weeds and then keep going. What this section is, I said it a little earlier, we're doing a little mini orchard. So I have 2 fig trees on the tailor ends. I have lemon, lime, clementine tree. Again, I did label them. Really fun. And then I have some grape trees, vines in the back. So they will vine up the fencing in the back. And what we like about this is everything is nice and safe from the deer because we have nice tall fencing right here to keep the deer out of our garden overall, and it will keep our fruit trees nice and warm. We are planning to build a structure over this section, a nice little greenhouse in the winter to help protect it from the cold. A lot of these plants are cold hardy for our section, but whatever we can do to help keep them warm and flourishing is what we want to do. That's about it for our garden tour. I hope that you liked it. I hope this was helpful, and I'd love to see your gardens. So definitely follow along the journey and tag me in your Instagrams with any of your gardens so I can check it out. Have a good one.